Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is the day 8 and 9 of our academic writing series. In this class, we are diving into a skill that often separates average writing from excellent writing. That's academic tone. Whether you are working on a seminar report, a technical write-up, or even a research proposal, how you express your idea matters just as much as what you are trying to say. So this section will help us to understand the principle of formality, objectivity, clarity, and professionalism in academic writing. And more importantly, show you how to apply this principle. If this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this series. Let's get into it. All right. In this class, or at the end of this section, trainees will be able to identify and avoid informal or objective language. You'll be able to replace colloquial expressions with formal academic equivalents. Apply correct vocabularies and grammar structure. Transform or use tentative, precise, and natural phrase in academic argument. Transform informed text into formal academic prose using real-life examples. What is an academic tone? Academic tone in academic writing refers to the formal and objective approach used in scholarly communication, characterized by clear and precise language and a focus on factual information and analysis. It is crucial to maintain credibility and professionalism in academic contexts such as research paper, essay, and thesis. What I actually mean by this is that academic tone is the voice you use when you are speaking in the scholarly community. It is not about big grammar nor or sounding complicated. It's about being clear, objective, and respectful of evidence. So this tone is quite necessary for seminar reports, SIWES documentation, research papers, and even journal publications. For example, evaluation, aspects, analysis, significance, effects, findings, presented, concepts, notably. This kind of words has been found common in academic setting because they express measure and factual observation. So it's very crucial to know that in academic writing, you need to maintain an academic tone. As I used to say, academic writing is different from a casual writing. So your tone should reflect it. Now, I will be showing you the 13 principles of academic writing style, something that could bring about the structure of academic tone, a principle that you can follow to maintain an academic tone. Number one, do not use idiomatic or colloquialized vocabularies. Idiomatic, when you talk about idioms, is talking about the cultural specific expression, something that you are trying to explain with not the actual word, trying to walk around the word, like get the ball rolling. You understand? And a colloquial language refers to as informal, your everyday speech, like you saying a lot of stuff. So those words are not actually formal. Do not use idiomatic or colloquial vocabularies. Now, when you're writing an academic tone, do not use something like things or something. Instead, use issue of actors. Do not use like this, like that, like. Instead of that, use such as or for instance. Do not use lot of. Instead of that, use significant amounts of a particular thing. You understand? Do not use like stuff, use findings. Do not use like get better, use improve. Do not use like things, use what? Adolescents. You understand? Those are the things that you can improve on, that will actually increase what? The way you speak in an academic setting. Now, this is actually a study example. Instead of you saying a lot of stuff was found in the plant and it was good for thing, you can say a significant amount of bioactive compound were identified in plant extract, which demonstrated potential health benefit for adolescents. You can see the difference between the two. One looks like you are chatting with your friend. Maybe you are trying to explain the result to even maybe a non-researcher, you understand? But the second one brings you to the concept of academic writing. So you can see that there is a tone between the two sentences. Another one is that use vocabulary correctly. Some vocabularies are very closer. So in one way or the other, you can confuse one for the other while writing your report. Using the right words in right concept is key. Misusing can alter the entire meaning of your sentence. Let's take for instance, affect is a verb. It means to influence, to make an impact on something. Why effect is the result, talking about the outcome of that impact. So if you miss the two, you might miss the whole story. You understand? Take for instance, the antioxidant activity significantly affected the oxidative stability of the compound. The effect was observed in both methanolic and ethanolic what? Extract. You can see now. So if you put effect in where affected should be and you put affected in where effect should be, the story has been changed and you've lose the real meaning of the story. Other common else that you might actually have is ensure and assure, adapt and adopt, complement and complement. So the third rule now is to be precise. You need to be precise, avoid words and imprecise words actually, or replace them with what? Measurable data and quantifiable terms. For example now, avoid you saying about. About is not precise. Instead of that, you can even speak with approximately. That's talking about exception now. Avoid saying a lot of people. Instead of that, tell us the actual number. 50 million people did this. 20 oxidants is needed or was discovered. You understand? Things like that. Be specific about what you are saying. You saying a lot of people or saying about is just like you are trying to tell us that you are not sure of what you are saying, and that alone can actually affect the integrity of your academic writing. You understand? So you need to maintain an academic tone to maintain the integrity of your academic writing. Let's take for instance, instead of saying a lot of antioxidants were discovered in the extract using ACMS analysis, say approximately 23 antioxidant compounds were identified in the extract using GCMS analysis. Can you see the difference between the two? One is unsure and the second one is trying to tell you the amount, if not the actual amount, the approximate amount of antioxidant compound found in that extract. So that is how to write. That is how an academic uh, writing works. That is how to maintain an academic tone. Another one is use tentative or caution language. Academic writing often involves suggesting or refining rather than making absolute claim. So use modal verbs and caution phrasing. For instance now, this data appears to suggest that Mezoneuron benthamianum possess antioxidant activity, though further study is required to confirm this across various solvents. Now, this kind of article now, or this kind of sentence made here, is trying to tell you that you are not claiming the outcome based on just only one research. Now, you don't give a final claim. This caution tone shows academic humility and make your conclusion more believable. So avoid you saying this proves. Instead of that, you can say this may indicate, the finding suggests. This is just to tell you that in science we rarely deal in absolute. Avoid saying things like you are trying to bring the research to a point that that is it and that is it. No, to avoid that. Now, avoid subjective verbs or emotional language. Words that express emotions or personal opinions weaken academics what? Naturality. You are trying to tell your own opinion, you are trying to write based on your own emotion. No, that's not what we want in academic writing. To maintain an academic tone, you have to avoid subjective verb. You trying to focus on yourself more than what the result says, or you trying to be emotional about what the result says. Take for instance now, you saying unfortunately. Instead of that, you can say what? Interestingly. Instead of saying luckily, you can say what? Notably. Like for example, now instead of you to say unfortunately only a few compound were extracted, that sounds more emotional, you understand? You can say interestingly only a limited number of compound were isolated, sorry, so that we need to see were isolated, possibly due to the polarity of the solvent used. You can see you are trying to be neutral about your result. You are talking straight to your result. You are not being emotional about it or being subjective about it, trying to put or insert your own opinion because maybe that was not what you were expecting, but that was what your result is saying. So you just need to stick to that and avoid emotional conversations. Another thing that is very common to students is using contract verbs. So do not use contract what verb forms when you are writing, and when you are doing an academic writing, or when you are writing an academic paper. Do not what use contract forms. Contract forms are too formal for academic writing. Always write them out. Use does not. Won't use will not. Wouldn't use would not. Hasn't use has not. Can't use cannot. Is very very appropriate and more in line with academic tone to not use what contract what verbs. You understand? So it actually stimulates, it help clarity, and it actually maintain academic tone. So now use passive voice correctly. This passive voice helps to emphasize process or result, not the researcher. So your focus is not who is doing the research. Your focus is the result or the process involved in the research. So for example now, instead of you saying a researcher analyze the data using advanced statistical what method, instead of you saying researcher analyze the data using advanced statistical method, you can as well say the data were analyzed using statistical method, or maybe the data was analyzed using advanced statistical method. This now emphasize on the analysis. This particular statement emphasize more on the analysis than who did the research, than the researcher. Or you can say it was observed that phenolic acid increase with ethanol concentration, or it was observed that the results or the data were analyzed. I'm trying to use the previous statement now. Data we analyze using advanced statistical what method. So in this case now, you are maintaining objectivity and what authoritativeness, not subjectivity. You're not trying to say, okay, this is what the research, this is the research. If your work is all about the researcher do this, the researcher do that, the researcher do that, you are not really laying emphasis on the major thing. So the major thing should be the process and the results of your research, not the researcher. Although you need to balance active tone with academic tone, there are some cases where you need to make mention, most especially in literature review when you are trying to bring about previous existing literatures or work that has been done on it. You can say so and so in year this carries out this, analyzes doing this. But now, particularly in your own research, you should not be after yourself, to be after the what, the research that you are doing, the process and the result of the research that you are doing. So the next one is avoid using questions. When you are doing your academic writing, avoid using questions. Questions are rhetorical and informal in academic writing. Instead of that, provide your answer what? Directly. Provide the answer directly. So instead of you saying what causes the antioxidant activity to vary, this is very common among students, especially when you are making use of AI. AI will write the question answer, write the question answer. That is not how to write or how to do an academic writing. You explain everything straight, article, you explain it. So now, instead of that, you just need to explain what an antioxidant activity variation is trying to do. You understand? So antioxidant activity variation is attributed to the differences in compound polarity and extraction methods. So avoid questioning when you are doing academic writing. When you are writing your academic paper, you are writing a thesis, avoid the use of question. No. Also, this is a very common thing also among students. Avoid etc and so on. Like I said, academic writing is different from a casual speech or a casual writing. So you need to be precise. You need to tell us the actual thing that is going on. So you saying etc looks too casual, like you are telling us that there are still some lists that you are not listing out, and of course it's not necessary to use etc. You need to tell us. It doesn't make sense that you are doing a research and you are still keeping some information away from us, because that's what it means. Say and so on, etc. So that looks too casual. It looks like you are just trying to communicate with your friend, or maybe trying to write one or two things to someone, not academic writing. Like instead of saying the plant contain flavonoid, phenol, etc., use the plant contain flavonoids, phenolic acid, and terpenoids, each contributing to antioxidant activity. Also, avoid using phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs are too informal and often what, ambiguous, to use precise what, single verb. Instead of using something like find out, use what, discover. Instead of you using something like point out, use what, indicate. Instead of you using something like bring up, use what, raise. The study found out several compounds. No, the study discovered 15 phytochemicals active in scavenging radicals. Another thing that is very crucial in academic writing is use in-text citation and referencing. Citation is acknowledging previous research and add academic value. For most of us, we all know that what you are writing is not as if you are pouring down something that is not existing. So definitely, the beauty of academic writing is that you are building on what someone has done, either by reviewing literatures that has been research that has been done, or when you are even writing your own research, you make claim to previous existing research that this result was similar to the findings of. So for an article to be standard and has an academic value, you need to reference it. referencing it is you are trying to tell us the authenticity authenticity of what you are doing, of what you are actually writing. That okay, is what you can confirm. This is also researcher also made mention of this. This also do this. So use in-text citation. So there are two type of citation styling. There is author prominent and there is what information prominent. Author prominent is you are writing like it's more like a narrative references. The name of the author is reflecting in the statement. While information prominent is you writing the statement and then putting the author and the year or citation, the in-text citation in parentheses. For example, now Okoro observed significant antioxidant activity. That's author prominent. Or significant antioxidant activity was observed. Okoro said so. That's what it means, that like this information is from Okoro. So during our referencing class, I will explain very well on in-text citation and referencing. So use what? Evidence. Of course, this is very, very, very crucial. Academic writing relies on proofs, fact, data, research, not opinion. Like I have said, it's not to be based on your opinion. So you have to give us the proof, and the proof can only come by you actually referencing previous work. You have to give us the fact on your research, and you have to give us a data. Now, what are the things that you get? What are the output? What are your presentation, your statistical presentation of your results? For example, now, according to Afolabi et al., don't worry, you will understand how this et al. Comes to play and how to write something like this when we are talking about referencing. If you have not subscribed, do well to subscribe so that you will not miss the rest of the series. Okay? According to Afolabi et al. 2023, the DPPH scavenging activity was measured at 83.4%, confirming the extract's antioxidant efficacy. Can you see now? This is more like a statement with referencing, a statement with evidence. So now, evidences includes the experimental data. It's not about this said also. Your results, what you get, you might need to put it in such a statistical form or an experimental data that you can prove to us, and peer-reviewed literatures, and that's where referencing comes from. So you pick sources that are okay, like what I taught you in the last class. You need to know how to search well so that you won't end up picking from the blog site where they are not what peer-reviewed literatures. So that's what you use for evidence sake. So the last thing, which is the 13th rule of maintaining an academic tone, is using of what? Signposts. Using signposts. Now, with all this that you've learned so far, at least you've known how to compose or how to write in line to what? To academic standard. You've known how to write in line to academic standard. Now, another last thing that you need to know is that how to guide your readers, because all this statement now is not just that you just write everything brah or just write everything dot dot dot. It will not make sense. So for clarity's sake, signposts guide readers through your argument. It improves flow and clarity. So now there are different type of signposting. There is what? Introduction signposting. If you can say this paper examines, that this paper examines is more like an introduction. So the main context now, the main article now is the antioxidant properties of Mezoneuron benthamianum using, but something that can guide them for them to understand what you are writing. I cannot just jump into the article and just say the antioxidant properties of Mezoneuron benthamianum using ACMS profiling. So this paper aims to, this article studies those are the introduction signposting. Another one is the structure signposting, like firstly or first, the extract was prepared using methanol. Secondly, the ACMS profiling, you can see this is forming a structure. All these words now guide the reader to read. I cannot just say the extract was prepared using Memethanol, the ACMS profiling was analyzed, antioxidant activity was assessed using DPH. Another one is transition signposting. Transition signposting is when you are moving from maybe one statement or one paragraph to another. Like, we now turn to the antioxidant result, something to guide them that will make your article make more meaning while you are reading it, and it improves what? Clarity. Another one is saying, in addition to flavonoid, the extracts contain phenolic, something like in addition to. Another common one is, furthermore, the ethanol extract exhibited greater potencies. Another one I can add is you saying, moreover. So moving on to, you understand, those kind of things guides the reader or someone to review your article in understanding what you are writing. So signposting is very essential to maintain academic tone. Another one is emphasis what? Signposting. It is crucial to note that. It is crucial to note that that's an emphasis statement. That compound yield was high under acidic condition. The last one is the conclusion signposting. In conclusion, that statement in conclusion is a signposting trying to guide your readers to the concluding part. Another one is the finding suggests, that's a conclusion. Another one, or I actually say, is in summary, in all, overall. Those statements are actually signposting. They are signposting. They are conclusion signposting. So now, from what we've actually learned so far, I've been able to talk about how to maintain an academic tone and the difference between an academic tone and an informal or a casual tone. So now look at what we've done so far now. Come and look at the two now. Imagine somebody without knowledge of what an academic tone or how to maintain an academic standard when writing a report. Now let's see the difference between this informal writing and this formal writing, which is academic writing. Imagine a lot of stuff was found in the plant after it was checked with ECMS, and it looks like it has good antioxidant effect, especially for teens. Extract seems to get better when it was mixed with alcohol, probably because alcohol helps brings out the good stuffs. If you read that down, luckily the plant has a bunch of compound that helps fight bad reactions in the body. The result shows that you can see all those blah 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 is not making sense. Is not making sense. Now let's correspond that now to formal writing and academic writing. ECMS profiling of Mezoneuron benthamianum reveal a significant presence of bioactive compound involving flavonoid, phenol acid, inulinic acid, and terpenoids. Approximately 23 antioxidant constituents were identified with methanolic extract, demonstrating the highest radical scavenging activity in the DPPH assay. Now, if you read this further, the results suggest that the compound polarity and blah blah blah. You can see that now this makes sense more, and this actually help. Look at the last part. The findings were consistent with those of Abayo 2021. You can see you are backing up your claim now with a reference. So in this case now, this academic writing actually needs to be done in a well maintained academic tone. So if that is not done, then you've actually affected the whole thing. The whole scenario has been affected. So now, in conclusion, in academic writing, like I said, how you say some things is just as important as what you say. It's as important as what you say. So how you convey those knowledge you must maintain an academic tone to convey an academic writing knowledge. That's what I'm just trying to say. Adopting the right tone, one that is formal, precise, and objective, builds credibility and strengthen your message. By applying these principles consistently, your academic writing will definitely reflect what professionalism and meet with what expectation of scholarly audience. So I will be entertaining some question and answer in the group, and you can also comment it on this channel. We will be answering them accordingly. Thanks very much for joining me for this day 8 and day 9 of our academic writing series. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if it helped you. On day 10, we will be covering referencing formats and proofreading and basic data analysis. Until then, stay curious, stay disciplined, and keep writing like a scholar.